Let's talk common water filter mistakes. Come on in, welcome to my home. Today we're going to talk water filter mistakes because some of you might be making them and some of them are so easy to avoid and also so easy to do. I mean, one of the first things that you have to think about is your water. Before you rush out to buy a water filter, have you ever thought about testing your water? And there are lots of different ways to test your water. I have this new little gadget that I got from Amazon Vine. They had me test it out. It's interesting. There's not a whole lot of instruction with it. So, I mean, I got the readings, but until I figured out what the readings meant, I didn't know what the readings meant. And that's a whole big thing, is a lot of people are buying water filters because they think they just need a water filter. But the question is, do you? I mean, what are your goals with the water filter? Here's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with what I have, what I know, and those sort of things, because I can speak to you with more authority about that than I can about other things. Because here are my goals. My goals were, I don't like the taste of my water, so I needed it to taste better. And sometimes it smells like chlorine. That doesn't happen that often, but sometimes it does. So those were my two goals. So, I mean, it just needed to taste better. However, there are a couple things to think about. When you think of water filters, a lot of people think of the pitcher water filters, which a lot of people have. They are reasonably priced, they're easy accessible, you can get the water filters pretty easy, a whole myriad of things. But there are also water filters which will do the whole house, water filters which will just you attach to the faucet, and water filters that you attach to the sink system, like the water system in there. There are a couple things to think about. What can you do? I mean, can you install the water filter? You're going to need to have somebody install it. That's something big. That's something really, really big. Because if you cannot install the water filter yourself, it's going to cost you some money. The next thing is the water filters themselves. They need to be replaced. I know this is going to sound very common, but you need to replace your water filters approximately every 2 months, but read your manufacturer's instructions. They kind of know what they're talking about. And that's something to think about. A lot of people do not replace their water filters all that often. And guess what? You could be actually adding more bacteria to your water, more problems to your water that you're filtering than you would be if you just didn't filter it at all. Now, here's what I know about my water. You can check out your water system by going to wherever your municipality is that makes your water, cleans your water, filters your water, does whatever it is to your water, by going online and checking them out and see what their confidence is with that water. My water seems to be fairly good. There are lots of places that have really bad water, and that's something to really check out. You might want to see what everybody is saying about your water, those sort of things. But my water seems to be good. I do not have a well. We are on a city system. So that's something. I do know that they add chlorine and fluoride. There are lots of things about chlorine and fluoride. Chlorine is a chemical which I do believe helps keep the water clean. Fluoride is for your teeth. Do you want to be ingesting that? Whole nother topic. We are not going to go into that. You'll also find that sometimes minerals get into it. There are lots of things to think about. What do you want to filter out? That's an important part, because once you figure out what your water is and what you're trying to actually filter out, then you can start looking at what system works best for you. Are you going to go with the ozone system? Are you going to go with a under cabinet system? Are you going to go with a water pitcher? Are you going to go with a system that sits on top of your cabinet? Wow, there's so many of those. But all of that doesn't mean a lot if you skip a few steps. There are a lot of steps which you've got to remember. The first thing that you need to remember is to install your water filtration system, water filter, however, according to the manufacturer's instructions. Some of this is common sense, some of this people skip. Because a lot of times people just rip open the package, put the water filter into whatever, and that's it. But is that what they say? I know that my water filter says that you're supposed to open it, soak it in water for 15 minutes, rinse it for 10 seconds, and then put it into the pitcher. Now, I take it a third, fourth step. I like to fill the first 3 times I do water, I pour that water out, do it again, pour it out, do it again, pour it out, so that way my my water filter is up and running. That's just me. Maybe I'm a bit paranoid, maybe I'm not, but I do use that water to water my plants so it doesn't go to waste. The next thing is, if you have a water filter and you are replacing it, like you're supposed to be, are you cleaning your water filter container? Most people who have a water filter pitcher just take out the water filter, do the whole steps, install it, and don't do 2 things. 1, they don't install it correctly. They leave it loose and then the water just pours around it and you're not really filtering anything. Or 2, they're installing it into the pitcher that hasn't been cleaned, which means that any contaminants that have been in that water are now in your water, your filtered water. Do you want those contaminants in your water? Because then you're not doing what you want it to do. And you're saying, but it's a water filter. It filtered out all those contaminants. Well, yeah, it did up to a point. If you go past the recommended time, or if you let it go and then things are starting to build up, no matter what, you still want to clean out your water filter container. Each and every time that you do this, clean it out so that way you are starting nice and fresh. And here's the thing, when you clean it out, dry it out. Because here's the other thing about this. Let's say that you go through all those steps and you don't do my insane pouring out the water 3 times. Okay, just let that part go. And you just clean it out. Don't rinse it out. Don't clean it out. Don't dry it out. Start filtering it. You already have water from your system. Like, you probably didn't use filtered water to clean out your water. So then in that container is the stuff that you were trying to get rid of. Does that make sense? But some of you might be like me and you're only worried about taste and the smell. That way you don't really have to worry too much about that. So when I clean mine out, I'm not freaking out about it. But there's also something to think about what kind of water filter you're going to get. I use the pitcher simply because of that, but if you're worried about lots of contaminants and those sort of things, you might want to get something that's filtering all of the water. You might need a whole house water filtration system simply because if you brush your teeth, are you brushing your teeth from your water pitcher? Probably not. If you're boiling water, do you pour the water into the container from your water pitcher? Probably not. I know when I make lemonade, I use the water pitcher to make my lemonade. And I will tell you this, my ice is not filtered. However, 1, I don't use ice that often. And 2, when I do use ice, it's usually buried in something, so I can't really taste the water from the ice. But if you're using ice that's not filtered, you can get water filters for your ice maker. If you're using water that's not filtered and then put it into the water, you aren't really doing much of anything. Now you just have diluted, non-filtered water mixed, no, it's not doing anything. So think about that. Think about the whole big picture, not just this tiny little bit of, well, I'm doing the filtered water because the water that I drink is the water that I'm worried about. Well, you also have to be worried about the water that you bathe in, because guess what? This absorbs lots of water. Probably need more water now, but your skin will absorb the water. So if you are not using a whole house filtration system and you are greatly concerned about the quality of your water, you might be absorbing the very things which you don't want to absorb. So it's a big thing to think about. It's one of the huge mistakes where you think you're making all of these correct steps, but then the last thing, you might forget it. And I was really surprised as I was researching this to find out how many people drink their shower water. No, I don't mean the water that they've rinsed off of themselves. I mean the water that comes out of the shower. They put their mouth underneath it and rinse, and okay, cool. It's hot. You do you, okay? But the thing to think about is you're drinking it. Just like when you're brushing your teeth, even though you spit out the water, right? You do that, right? You don't swallow it. Anyway, you still are absorbing that. Yeah, that's really something. The things which you don't think about. Your pasta water, if it's not filtered, you've just put all of that in your pasta, is soaking up all of that. Kind of scary, isn't it? But it's also kind of not scary. If you are lucky enough to have clean drinking water, that is great. Now, I thought about doing a video about making my own water filtration system. Putting that on hold right now, because I need to learn more about water filtration than just that. And like I said, my water filtration, county-wise, and the municipality has a fairly good water filtration system, and we're pretty good here. So I can use just the simple containers. Now, one of the things that I do is I have 2 water filter containers, 2 pitchers, because I drink a lot of water. In fact, right now I'm thirsty, so I'm going to get one right after I get done with this video, so that way I can have 2 going at all times, and I don't have to wait, because it can take a long time for those containers to fill up. And then when I'm waiting for it, I want it to be cold. I like cold water. Some of you don't like cold water, and that's absolutely perfectly fine. But I like my water nice and cold in the refrigerator. Come out, pour a nice glass of water, and stay hydrated, which I'm really dehydrated right now because I'm thirsty. But those are the common mistakes. Not knowing what your water is, not making sure that your water filtration system is clean as you use it, not following the manufacturer's instructions, and then just not having either a big enough system or enough to handle what it is that you are actually doing. Because you can overdo things. You could have a whole house water filtration system when all that you really need is just a pitcher for your water. But then again, you could have a pitcher for your water and then have to be replacing those filters all the time, and that's something to think about as you're doing this. How much is it going to cost you to buy water filters? Because the faucet water filters can be really expensive. The whole house water filters can be really expensive. Replacement filters are kind of pricey. And the question is, do you need them? You have to decide about that. You can take your water to be tested in various places. There are places that you can send in through the internet. There are places that you can probably go locally. But I myself, and this is why I stuck with what I actually do versus telling you, hey, this is the way to do it, even though I don't do it, I myself am not that worried about it. I'm using the pure water filter. I've used it for years and years, and like you've seen, I've cleaned my water pitcher every time I replace the water filter, which my water filter has an indicator light which comes on about every two months, and it keeps things going. Now, I will put it onto my calendar so that way I know exactly when it needs to be replaced and I'm replacing it versus, letting it go for months and having that bacteria now being poured into all the water that I'm drinking. Ugh, don't want that. Well, I hope this helped you think about some of the mistakes which you might be making with your water filter. Let me know down in the comments what I forgot. I'd like to take this time to thank all these wonderful people who let me drink clean water all the time simply because they help me get new water filters. If you want to join our Patreon group or our channel members, you'll get this video early, and you'll also get a weekly vlog where you see the behind the scenes of what goes into making a video like this. And the research on this one was kind of wild, simply because unless you know what you've got, you might not know what you really need to do. That's something to think about. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember to like and share and hit that subscribe button to join this channel and let you know when new videos come out. I hope I get to see you again the next time you stop by.